And I think we're going live. We got a little down dog. Where's your little dude? Where'd your little dude go? Oh, there's your little dude. There's your little dude. Huh? You're one-eared little guy? You want it? You're, oh, here you go. You can snuggle up with it. Yeah. Oh, boy. It's the longest toy I've ever had. All right, everybody. Hey. It seems to have a problem. It's after dark. It's late. There's actually people staying up. Because this week is going to be weird, man. It's going to be so weird. We're going to start it off with one of these. Get it. Oh, yeah, get it. All right. Okay. I entitled this one to Infinity and Bed Bath & Beyond. Yeah, Brian Cohen dropped a bunch of bills to picked up 9-point-something% of Bed Bath & Beyond recently. It just got announced. He says he's not going to try to become a member of the board, but I have no doubt that he's going to put proxies in there. And what they're going to do is they're going to do the same thing they've been doing with GameStop, which is they're going to streamline e-commerce and make it a powerhouse in that department, and probably use the brick and mortar stores to do two different things. One, sell things to people who come in and want the tactile experience of like touching bath mats and mattresses or whatever. And two, you have a back room that acts like a warehouse and you can just ship stuff out. Right? So that kind of made the meme stocks go bonkers today. Bed Bath & Beyond opened huge, like up, 50% or something. And it came dropping back down. But we saw some others do weird things. CEI climbed like 80%. What were the other ones? If I can pull up the list here. Who were all of them? But it was the meme stocks that did weird stuff. So yeah, CEI went climbing. They were up 64%. Clove was up. Ader's up. Metamaterials was up. Sen was up. Root went up and then it kind of dropped back down again. But then everything else, if you look at all the blue chips were down. Almost 3% down on SPY, largest drop since October 2020. And the first time they've let it drop more than 1.9% without, perhaps dumping a bunch of liquidity in the market from the Fed. We have oh man, what other things to talk about? Oh, and commodities prices are going bonkers. Nickel and wheat and oil especially. Nickel screamed like 85%. It triggered a whole bunch of margin calls that went unpaid in the commodities market, especially in the British commodities market. And so they're giving some leeway on those traders because no one saw nickel doing this. So there's been some reprieves given. Credit Suisse is looking at doing margin calls for folks that use Russian assets as collateral. So it looks like Credit Suisse is going to be, handling a lot of this. But if those margin calls trigger margin calls or trigger margin calls and so on, we may be looking at some weird stuff going on. All right. Purportedly stupid. Calling it now. MOAS is this week. Houston doesn't do second intro all week. Oh, shit. Second intro. Got to drop my intro. Thank you. There we go. Ha! That's how you guys are going to guarantee it right there. What else did I put in? I always forget what I put in there for the news. Yeah, Putin is just screwed right now. I'm really trying to picture a scenario where Putin comes out of this and everyone's like, oh yeah, he did a good job. I don't see it happening. I think he's absolutely just boned at the moment, and he's truly painted himself into a corner. He has the entire globe against him, and China begrudgingly like, okay, yeah, you can tag along, like little brother type thing. But I think China's learned that the reaction and the quick action from the global community with regards to invading Ukraine has made China think twice about invading Taiwan. That they're seriously like, oh shit. We really can be closed off from the rest of the globe, and then we got nothing. And, China's got a nuclear arsenal and all those things, but it pales in comparison to the superpowers. And everyone knows Chinese manufacturing. right? Compared to Russian death machines that are all failing because people didn't check the tires. Putin can't pull back because Putin went in thinking it'd be an easy cruise, go into Kyiv and just take the whole country and be done out of there in a week. And what he's discovering is that his big, bad, scary military has been sitting and rotting for 30 years. And it has been an absolute demonstration of NATO engineering and ingenuity and capability that these cheap little $20,000 rockets are destroying $5 million tanks, and the tanks are just death traps. And Russia is responsible for at least 20% of all defense exports around the world, like defense sales. And Putin has just destroyed the chance anyone is ever going to buy a Russian-made weapon again. Like maybe Kalashnikovs, but if you're looking at tanks or APCs or troop carriers or anything else, no African dictator is going to want to buy your Russian-made whatever, because they realize they can get scarier weapons for a fraction of the price from the West, and so Putin has to keep pushing forward. He has to somehow make this slog of a machine somehow eke out a victory. Otherwise, no one's ever going to buy his products ever again. Sorry. Might be getting messages from parents and... we are in a very, very weird position. Like, Putin can't back up. He can't be like, okay, well, I'm out, because then he just has to admit defeat. Like, this smaller nation who was our little baby brother for so long just kicked the shit out of us. And man, there we go. Okay. I'm going to do this question, and then somebody sent me coordinates. So, Meow, did you ever see the episode of $6 Million Man where he fought Sasquatch, or Fantasy Island where Rourke fought Satan? Oh my God, so real. There was it Venture Brothers that did a parody of $6 Million Man, Sasquatch getting married and like living out in the countryside together? It was just brilliant. It was so funny. But no, I only saw the parodies of those. Okay. Project's son has got a coordinate, so he may as well jump in there. Do the Google Earth's up. I'm gonna jump in. You're still in China from Saturday. Whoops. Are we trying to come on, you can I gotta scroll. I'm trying to click it on the wrong side here. And bam, copy that, throw it in there, paste it down, and go. Why don't you like it? Why don't you like it? Why don't you like it? You don't like it because there's a space there, and there needs to be a space there. Oh, because you have a negative sign, and you have also the direction, and that's why you want it. There we go. Figuring it out. Sometimes there's too much information you can handle. Okay, we're in the U.S. We are in Appalachians. We are in a mansion. Where are we? Oh, is this Frank Lloyd Wright's house? Yeah, it is. This is the one built on the river in Pennsylvania, right? This place is so cool. So cool. Oh, there he is. Hi, guy. Taking a picture of everything. Good job. I dig it. Such a cool house, man. You're not allowed to build houses like this anymore because you have to get all sorts of environmental impact statements to build on top of a moving body of water. But man, such a cool place. Beautiful, but in the shade, probably covered in ticks. I dig it. Thank you, Proj. Okay, no second intro. Suck it, losers. Great Ape Knowles. Could you make a compelling argument for why GME is still the ultimate play for novices to the market? It can be hard to find good info to share with others. Please clip it too. The plebes need this. Oh, if I remember to clip it. Okay, why GME is a fantastic play. For one, the stock price has gone nuts. It was at $2 in April 2020, $2.57, somewhere around there, wherever its low was. And now, hovers around $100. For most of last year, it was hovering around like $150 to $200. How make that jump who knows? Squeeze. It is a disruptor in the gaming market, which is a $200 billion a year market. Not only do they have physical stores, but they have a very strong online presence now and doing lots of branding. They've got $1.5 billion in cash on hand. They've got a new revolutionary crypto market, Gmerica, where people will be able to trade games, trade DLC content, mint NFTs, swap crypto, do all sorts of things in that realm, which is probably going to net them a giant pile of cash in transaction fees. Because right now, gas fees on Ethereum-based what do you call them? Crypto shit is really expensive. You're looking at, just to do a transaction, $18 to $30 to mint something, $50 to $150. If you're trying to use it as an actual currency, the gas fees on that are so expensive. So if you do it in the loop ring based Gmerica network, you're looking at a penny or two to do a transaction, maybe $1 to mint something. So people are going to move to that system so that they can actually move stuff around. And the loop ring GME guys, they're going to be taking just the tiniest little shaving off of every single one of those transactions, and it's going to net a pile of money. So they can sell a minted game, an NFT minted video game on there. You download it, you play it, and then they say, I want to sell it. So you load it back up onto the network. Someone buys it from you. You get your money minus some commission that gets shaved off of that every transaction back to the game developer or GME or whoever. They're gonna make a lot of money. Okay, beyond that, let's look at the short squeeze potential. Got released their latest survey on Saturday, and it showed that American investors probably have in the neighborhood of 800 million GME shares, which is more than 10 times the actual float. And traditionally, 40% of investment into American companies come from foreigners, which puts the total number of shares owned by retail in the 1.4 billion range, plus the 13% and 22% interests from funds and investment firms, makes it about 2,825% more claimed ownership in GME than there actually is float. This is insane. This is 28.25 times minimum is what the ownership claim is over float. So the short interest that's not reported is insane due to these naked shorts that have been created. And 20-30% are probably reported through voluntary reporting to FINRA or whatever, Ortex, Morningstar. So that when this thing kicks off and people face liquidation or margin calls, they're going to have to go out there and they're going to have to purchase a whole bunch of these stocks that we own at whatever price we decide to sell. When you see the price drop to $98, it's not because you and I are selling it. It's because Citadel minted a whole bunch more naked shorts and they put those on the market. And then you and I bought them. We went out like, I got $100 today. Buy. Why? Because we got paid on Friday. That's why. So we are buying another, 2-3 shares a month and just accumulating as time goes on, whenever we got some extra money. And all we've done is buy more and more and more and more. And when we get to a point where liquidations happen and those trading computers have to buy these shares in order to close positions and move on with their lives and just be done with it, we will be able to name our price because they need our shares. They need to buy every legit share, the equivalent of every legit share, 28 times in order to close out their positions. Right? So how are they going to do that? They're going to have to offer a lot of money. Because we're not going to sell. We're not going to sell at $200. We're going to sell at $300. We're not going to sell at $500. We're not going to sell at $1,000. So the price is going to get so bonkers so quickly that anyone who has limit orders set at silly prices, they're going to get bought because no one else is going to sell at market because the market price might be 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand. And at that point, people will look at the zeros in their bank their accounts, brokerage accounts, and go, all right, I'll sell one. See that one went through. Okay, I'll up the price 25%. Sell that one. Oh, that one went through. I'll up the price 40%. Oh, that went through. You know what? I'm going to double it. Oh, 15 minutes later, that went through. And those trading computers are going to gobble up every single solitary share that's available, everything they can. And if there's the infinity pool, people set aside chunks of their shares and are just not going to sell in order to drive the price further and further and further and further north. That's going to trigger probably a response from the federal government and from the Fed, where they're going to have to just print money to bail out these banks, because these banks aren't going to have the cash to deal with it. So you're going to look at a whole bunch of printing of treasury notes, of dollars, of Federal Reserve notes, and they're going to be buying and buying and buying and buying, or at least bidding to buy, until, every single one of us has finally sold our shares, that cleared the books, the hedge funds that got vaporized are gone, and then we can just start over again. And the hedge funds that exist, you're going to be like, hey, give us your money. You can become customers of our giant firms now. And we're going to go, no. Screw investing in America. You guys are corrupt. Okay. That work enough for you? Josh Tyler, Houston, happy National Flapjack Day. Really? Did you think buying call options for Metamaterial for January 23 too far out? No. I might try to buy for October, but maybe further. I'm just worried that oil co switch over, and it may take a few months before we get any word on sales of the property. Especially like oil's just going bonkers. So my guess is they get an offer from someone, and they go, oh, wow, this is fantastic. And they look out of the corner of their eyes and they see oil to go up $20 over a weekend. They're like, no. Come back with another offer. So it's going to be really hard to nail down a price for these oil fields while oil is increasing at a logarithmic rate. The rumors are oil is going to be $200 a barrel, which is essentially, I don't know, $170 more a barrel than when the Torchlight Metamaterials merger was negotiated. So if at $100 a barrel, it's worth $4 billion. At $200 a barrel, that land should be worth $8 billion, right? So that can be the huge difference between what Metamaterials is able to offer all of the shareholders and what Metamaterials is able to glean or siphon off the top, because remember, they have the majority of the shares from Torchlight is owned by Metamaterial. So if they sell that land for billions of dollars, they're going to have $1 billion or more in cash from that deal in their coffers, and they're going to be set. It'll be about the time their factory is done being built, and they will start producing things off of their own machines rather than just theoretically off of their lab experimental machines that are at the NovaCorp. What do you call it? What are those things? Incubator. At the incubator where their company formed. Thank you, Monkey, for helping me on that one. Yes. So, if it takes a while to get there, it takes a while to get to the point where they can start producing this stuff and announce their big deals, then I might try to buy the highest price call they have at the cheapest price available, with whatever cash I have, because I can see this popping to $100 a share or more, and if that can happen, then woohoo, hot dog! I just retired. And if it happens before the MOAS, then then I can take the $5 million and put that into GME or GME calls or something, and we can just ride those rocket ships over and over and over again. 'Cause why not? Okay, did I miss anybody's? Got that one, got that one, got that one, got that one. All right, now we can. Oh, and I see from my friend John said I forgot to announce that GME can offer an NFT dividend at any time. That too. Oh shit. Sorry. I got a phone call here. 1 sec. I'll be right back. Hello. I'm doing all right. How are you doing? Yeah. No, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. I don't know. Give me a call around 10 o'clock. That work? Yeah? Okay. Okay. That's all right. That's all right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Perfect. Yeah. I'll shoot you a message when I get done with the show. All right. Welcome. All right. Bye. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. Just leaving you there, dead on the air. Now, my friend whose dad passed away is feeling a little down, so I'm gonna go hang out with him after the show. But yes, sorry about that. Gotta answer the call sometimes when people are grieving. What was I talking about before that happened? Oh, yes, talking about NFT dividend. Yes. There we go. All right. No other super chats happened, so I'm not going to do that. I am completely discombobulated. And now we're to the chat. Okay. And Neuralink, unusual whales tweet, White House says U.S. has a long, difficult road ahead, has me nervous. I'm a small business owner, and I don't know how much more it can take. Need to decide to renew lease, scale back till World War III is over. Yeah. That is definitely... I think people are pondering about a lot of stuff right now. I don't know how many of you use Twitter or social media, but there's been a lot of talk about trying to get people back in the office, which is really terrible timing because oil prices are going bonkers and gas prices have just rocketed as a result of this conflict. And in some places, like in LA, some places like gas is like $7 in some places in LA. People are not going to commute with that kind of travel cost. They're not going to spend time in traffic burning $7 a gallon fuel. Or more poor place, like in North Carolina, where your minimum wage is the federal minimum wage at $7.25 an hour, and working for an hour can even get you 2 gallons of gasoline. That's really going to affect a lot of people. So this push to get everyone to go back into their offices is not at all because people can't work from home. It's because there is an incredible amount of investment in commercial properties. And if we don't need to use those commercial properties anymore, billions upon billions, probably trillions of dollars in underlying value of assets go poof. What's the point of having a giant skyscraper downtown if no one needs to work there? Because they can all do it on their computer because they have white-collar jobs, right? You know, the folks who have to show up to work are the ones that have to like do pipe fitting and weld stuff and fix a car or maintenance on something or mow a lawn or do construction. Like everyone else, if they're paper pushers, for the most part, they can do that from home. They don't really need to go in the office that often, you know, and I think that these commercial real estate interests are putting the pressure big time on the federal government to try and convince people to go back to work. And they're doing it at the absolute worst time because the cost of getting to work is so insane if you have to drive. If you don't have access to public transportation or live close to your work and you have to drive an hour and you're going to be, you know, doing 300 miles a week, and a tank of gas is going to cost you, you know, $200 to refill every week, you're not going to commute. You're just going to quit your job and find somewhere closer because, you know, if you take a $300 a week or say $200 a week pay cut, right, to work somewhere closer to your house, you probably made out on that because you just cut out, you know, 5 to 10 hours of commute, and you're not going to be spending any more money than what you're taking in, essentially, because you're saving all that gas. So why not? So I think there's going to be a giant reshuffle going on. And yeah, there's going to be a long, difficult road. We have to raise interest rates because we have to cut back on inflation. And the market's going to take a hit. When that happens, assets values are going to drop. The asset values of these real estate holdings are going to drop as well. And we're just going to be in a really, really weird place economically. And who knows how long this war is going to play out. I don't know if Putin has the people strength or the machinery to do much more, and he may have to escalate just because that's what you do when you're in like a sunk cost fallacy. And he may, poke the bear and nudge a NATO country to see what a response is. Who knows? We are in such a weird time. There's so many weird variables. I don't know if any time since possibly the late 60s has so much weird stuff been going on in such a short period of time, when you've got like political assassinations, invasions, Cold War, upheaval in society with hippies and weirdos and civil rights, and like, and the time before that was, back in the late 30s, when you had economic depressions, runaway inflation, fascism, communism, invasions, world wars. Like, we are in one of those cycles right now where there's just so much weird shit going on that who knows how it's all gonna end up and who's gonna be on top in that. It is just weird, man. It's just so weird. So, Anna, to hoe that row, yeah, my guess is it's such a convoluted way of the U.S. government going, strange times, man. we've got a pandemic, we've got World War, we've got an economy on the brink, we've got, like, just name it. There's something weird going on. And yeah, and that's why, yes, praying for Moab so I can just retire. Exactly. Like, just let this bell ring, put that pile of money in my account, and I can go la 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 to everything until everything glows like the surface of the sun, whatever. Okay. One ball, Houston, do you think silver will make it past $500 an ounce? No. I think silver can probably peak $50 to $75. I don't know how long it can sustain that price. But there's a lot of silver out there. There's a lot of silver. And to reach that $500 an ounce stage, it would have to be much more rare of a metal than what we have. Was it 2011 is when it peaked in price? I can't remember. Somewhere between 2009 and 11. It got to about $50 an ounce, which was, I thought, pretty insane. And people were like, oh, silver's going to $5,000. No, silver's not going to $5,000 an ounce. It is a base metal. It just happens to be like the fanciest of the base metals, the most bougie of the base metals. It's not going to $500 an ounce. There's so much silver out there. I mean, if it goes to $500 an ounce, I can probably retire by what's in my safe deposit box. So, like, it's not going there. I can see $50 to $75 an ounce, but not for a particularly long period of time, because when it gets to those prices, what happens is that these mining companies have loads all over, like mining claims all over the world, that they go, oh, if it goes to $45 an ounce, we can open a mine here and produce at a profit for all this stuff. If it goes to $65 an ounce, we can open this mine over here and produce. And so the minute it gets to those prices, all these competing mining companies start opening claims they've been sitting on and start producing. And then the market gets flooded and it just drops the price back down again. There's all sorts of reserves all over for silver. Gold, I bet gold can probably go to crazy levels. Few $1,000s an ounce during all this. I could see gold $3,000 to $5,000 an ounce. And it'll be temporary. Probably post MOAS we get to those prices. But right now gold's going to start steadily climbing because people are looking at it as a reserve currency essentially, and as a way to get out of a volatile market. So they're going to start jumping over to gold. So I expect to see gold start climbing more. Peachy Sunday, Houston, why don't you DRS a single share just as an insurance in case your broker somehow don't deliver the GME shares? Not delivering the GME shares is what I want. I don't care if I own an actual physical share. I don't. What I want is for a failure to deliver happen that forces someone to go buy them. Plus, opening up a new account and waiting weeks for it to go in there, it's just a pain in the ass, man. I do not care about computer share. I don't. It's just, I I just don't trust it. I don't. The drum beating for computer shares seems so cult-like and weird that it just gives me the heebie-jeebies to an extent. I just think it's very weird. And I don't see it doing anything to affect naked shorting. They can short naked when we own all the shares because they can go, oh, look at there's 5 million shares in computer share. That means I can naked sell 5 million shares this time around. It just seems kind of like a pain. I'm not going to bother. Too much work, too much hassle. Another antiquated system that takes $25 to do a trade and just expensive. I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. Greg Mathis, Houston longtime lurker, love your show, decided to log in and ask, question, are you going to take your MMTLP dividends and put them into Metamaterials for an inevitable squeeze? Probably. I mean, if the dividend is anywhere where I hope, 20 plus range, that gives me 5 figures to play with and to either buy 1,000 calls or to buy 10,000 shares or something. Why not? And I think if they announce a dividend, there'll be an initial spike on the Metamaterials shares as a result of that news, and then it will wind down, and that'll be the opportunity to probably buy. Is that like they're like, oh, Metamaterials is going to offer a $20 dividend. The Torchlight preferred share offer $20 dividend. The Metamaterials will climb up a little bit, and people are like, oh, and then they realize that the Metamaterials isn't the one offering the dividend, and the price will go blah, 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 blah. That'll be the time to buy. And then what's going to happen is the shares, cash will be delivered from the Torchlight preferred shares. A few weeks are going to go by. The folks that own synthetics and their brokers will be like, hey, you haven't sent any cash. They're a short hedge fund. You need to send cash for these shares that you borrowed, and they're not going to be able to deliver the cash. And so then all of a sudden, those brokers are going to have to liquidate and buy Metamaterials to make up for it. And that's when Metamaterials would rocket, would be because of that, because those failures to deliver on the PILs. So I think there's probably going to be like a lag of maybe 2, 3, 4 months from when the dividend gets announced or delivered and when Metamaterials itself would see the effects of that. So that's why I'm thinking a little bit longer calls past July, maybe October or January. Parwesh Dungal, what's up, big man? Hope your mom is doing well, and you as well. Did you ever get to find out the name of the African Romanian? Oh crap! I forgot to talk to John. No, I have not. I haven't seen John. I normally see him like once a week. I have not seen him since I talked about that. He's like, oh, I'm gonna take you to coffee and talk about this crypto thing, and then he's not taking me to coffee and talk about the crypto thing. I only have his wife's number. I'm gonna have to call his wife. Be like, yo, have your husband call me. I will. When I get that news, I'll give it to you. My mom is doing well. She had her, for those of you who are aware, she got her hip replaced today. She had her right hip done in 2013, left hip done today. Went well. Doctor said that the hip that they took out looked absolutely horrible and was just bone on bone, and the little hip ball had been ground down to like a pinpoint. And she's going to do much better with this new titanium monster inside of her. So she did the recovery ward, then she woke up, so they put her in like the observation ward. And so sometime tomorrow afternoon or evening, they send her home, which is just the weirdest thing. They wouldn't let anybody at the hospital this time around because of COVID precautions. But when she had her hip done in 2013, it just blew my mind. Like, you got a little old lady. Her hip's destroyed. You put her under, you make this incision into her leg, you saw her femur in half, pull out this chunk of it, jam a titanium rod down inside of it, and stick everything back together and sew it all up. And then 4 hours later, when she wakes up, you have her stand up and walk around the hospital room. Like, what kind of wizardry, magical science can you actually have the person go for a walk 4 hours after they had their femur sawed in half? Just blows my mind. Absolutely crazy. Like, how, monkey? How do they do it? I don't understand. And the tech stuff, like, I'm not sure how they did it this time, but they had a like literally they cut the leg, take that bone out, they scan it into this machine. That scan goes across the street to a machine shop that tools an exact size and model for the new rod that gets jammed in there out of titanium, and comes back like 40 minutes later. And they just jam that sucker in there and shove it in. The future, man. This is like Star Trek. I mean, Star Trek they just tell the replicator to make one and pop out. But absolutely crazy. Just Star Trek. Star Trek is what it is. So, she'll have like 3 weeks having to use the walker and then go to the cane, and then 6 weeks she'll be walking around normal. Like just bending over, picking up trash when she goes on her little litter walks. That's her thing. She likes to walk around our town and pick up all the trash on the street that people leave behind. And then everyone knows her as like the lady who picks up everyone's garbage. Used to be her and her little old lady dog, but her little lady dog passed away. And she's been waiting for 2 years to get a new dog because she didn't want to have to deal with a dog and this bad hip and possibly getting like yanked around. So we're excited that maybe in 2 months we can finally get her a dog. And speaking of dogs, starting next week, there's going to be a big giant one hanging out on the Houston with a Problem podcast for the next 6 months. My sister's dog, Snoopy, who's a Great Pyrenees Bernese Doodle. He's hanging out because my sister got called up to active duty. And so she's got to go run a command somewhere in Texas for the Navy. And I'm taking care of her giant dog for her while she's gone. So Monkey Butt's going to have a wrestle buddy who's going to make her just look like the tiniest little thing. And expect to see a giant floofy monster doodle walking around. He's like 150 pounds. He's huge. So yeah. So you look forward to that next week. I have no idea how well you know how Snoopy will behave on camera. Do you? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how he can behave on camera. Where'd your little guy go? Oh, there's your little guy. Where's your little guy? Take your little guy. Yeah, take that little guy. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. You want your cover. I know what you want. You're giving me that look. That's what you wanted. Okay, you and your little guy can hang out. There you go. Okay. Meow meow. Do we laugh when Putin launches his missiles and they blow up in their silos? That is, I wrote about this weekend. Judging from the maintenance of their very expensive, very fancy, we're talking about like anti-aircraft machines that cost $15 million to build are broken down in a farm field because all the gaskets or the boots on the wheel hubs dry rotted and all the oil leaked out and the wheels won't turn. The tires dry rotted and exploded. The gas tanks rusted and leaked out. If they have $15 million anti-aircraft machines, they got $5 million tanks, they've got $500,000 APCs, they're all falling apart because no maintenance was done for the last 30 years. What do you think the maintenance condition is on a 50-year-old ICBM? If, a poorly fitted O-ring on the shuttle can blow up the Challenger, right? What can a poorly fitting O-ring on a fuel line and a 50-year-old rocket do? Right, that thing's going to go whomp, and any silo that's near them is going to go whomp, and they're going to wipe out entire caches of nuclear warheads. I don't know. I guess Putin only really has to have like one that works to really make a point, but I just don't see a culture that probably shows up to their boot camp and they're like, all right, do your push-ups, go for a run, clean your gun, drink this bottle of vodka, and we'll do maintenance tomorrow. I think that's kind of the feeling I'm getting from this. When we talked on Saturday, was it Thursday? We're talking about the average wage of these conscripted soldiers. They're at $30 a month. Well, the crash of the ruble means the average conscripted soldier in the Russian army is now earning $12.90 a month. That's their wages for being forced into Putin's army, is $12.90 a month. How many of you in this chat right now had lunch that cost more than that? probably all of you. That is $12.90 a month is what 400,000 soldiers in the Russian army are forced to live off of. That's brutal. And that is why you have so much graft and so much corruption in that army. That, you know, why put the parts on your tank when you can sell that part in the black market to, you know, a Congolese warlord? Well, that hub could go on that tank, or I could sell that hub on eBay and make $50 off of it, and that's 2-3 months' wage. I think that's what's happening, and so because they're not paid well, they're not going to have loyalty. They're not going to be like, oh, I'm Captain Hero. They're going to be like, oh, fuck this. I want to build a Ford McDonald's. Yeah. Okay. We talked about Bed Bath & Beyond. Lindsay Amen, Houston, do you think many Melvin-like funds bleeding on Bed Bath & Beyond may start a domino reaction of short coverings? We may see some of that. The fact that it dropped back down again, I think, meant a whole bunch of them avoided any margin calls related to it. I mean, if it had stayed at 30 whatever dollars, there probably would have been some heads rolling on that one. But if Cohen does it again, if you find that Cohen drops a bunch of money in BlackBerry or whatever, he might focus on more of the brick and mortars, judging from it, because you can just sort of copy and paste that model that he's doing with GME across any brick and mortars. So you may see him jumping in there and doing that. Yeah. I think a large part of it has to do with he's flexing and showing that he can boost the ETF basket that GameStop is in. He can go out there and he can drop a few $100 million here and there and $1 billion there and pump up all these companies that are in the exact same basket as GameStop, and it's going to make them just really. Those hedge funds are probably just so pissed off right now. Yeah, hedgies are dead, man. Shorts are dead. What was the shorts? Charlie Roger and the skull. Shorts are dead. Okay. Now people are mad that I turned off the intro. There we go. Why is nickel mooning? Nickel is mooning because a huge portion of raw nickel ore comes from Russia. Let's find out how much. Okay, so Russia accounts for 7% of global nickel production, which is it's about how much they represent oil production. So they do about 7.5% of the world's oil production. Yeah, so that's why, and a lot of the electronic machines we use need nickel for batteries and other things. So titanium should go up. I think they're a large producer of titanium, pretty large for uranium. So we'll probably see commodities prices in wheat. Russia and Ukraine are like what, 15-20% of all wheat production. Wheat production for Russia. Russia is 17% of the global export of wheat. So they're almost 1/5. And then wheat production, Ukraine. Whoa. Ukraine is 1/3 of the world's wheat production. So basically, we are now down to mostly just the United States being the supplier of wheat for the globe at this point. Because you got 17% from Russia, you got 30% from Ukraine. That right there is almost half of the entire global production of wheat. So the United States is going to be basically the other part of it. Oh, no, sorry. Use wheat. Oh, Russia and Ukraine. Sorry, Russia and Ukraine make up 1/3. That's what the stat is saying. Sorry, I jumped the gun. So the other 60 whatever percent is going to come from Europe and the U.S. Yeah. So, yeah, that's why wheat prices have also gone bonkers. Wheat futures are nuts. They're only allowing closeout positions right now, I think, on wheat futures in the commodities market because the prices have gone so bonkers that they aren't allowing like new positions to open. Because the wheat doesn't exist, I think, at this point. that if Ukraine can't plant and Russia's not allowed to sell, I wonder if China will become a net exporter of wheat this year. Think about it, right? Russia's only allowed to do business with China. They really can't do business with anyone else. They don't have any way of exporting anything. They've got a land border with China, so they can just move stuff right across the border. China buys all of Russia's wheat futures, right? They buy every single solitary bushel they can possibly get. They buy all of Russia's wheat. That stuff gets shipped to China, and then China sells it for a gigantic premium to the rest of the world. My prediction is that this fall, China becomes a giant wheat exporter, and it's going to be done with laundered wheat from Russia. Stay tuned. We'll start to see October, November, somewhere in there, China will be exporting wheat like crazy. Mark my words. That's how I'm picturing that happening right now. I want the U.S. to invade Russia and install Sacha Baron Cohen and his Borat character as a new president. Couldn't do any worse. That'd be amazing. I'm for it. I mean, if having a Jewish comedian is working out so well for the Ukrainians and their like national unity, why not have another Jewish comedian take over Russia? I'm all. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. Raider Bo, what is Apple announcing tomorrow? It's product launch. They do product launch in September and product launch in March every year. So they're probably announcing, a fancy iPhone or a new MacBook Air or something like that. My cousin, she does graphic design for their launches. So she does like tons of work for the March and September ones. And she's saying product launch is what's happening tomorrow. She can't say explicitly what products it is, but product launch. Jason Blackwell, hey Houston, I got the AMC, GME, MEMAT, MMTLP calls for Metamaterial. What else can I get to get out of this 95 BS? Moas, please. You might be there. Man, if you can afford puts on the SPY, calls on the VIX, I think that stuff's starting to print. I was getting antsy in the pantsy. My theta decay was happening on my March 18th UVXY call, so I pulled the trigger and I sold them on Friday for a tiny loss. But because the theta decay was happening so much, even going up today, the price still went down on them. So, I probably should have bought ones that were a month or two further out. That'd probably be a smarter idea, but they could cost so much more, so I didn't do it. But I might dip my toe into some more UVXY calls that are a few more weeks out, a couple more months out. See those. Just in my head, how are African animals able to adapt to being in zoos in wildly different climates all over the world? I don't think they do. they grow fur and stuff like that. They've got fur. But I think they usually have like a heated little chamber a little cave they'll go into and hang out in. I have to look into that more. Because it is kind of cruel to take a giraffe and Yanukovych, the overthrown former president, the Putin-backed president that was in Ukraine, when they raided his former palace, he had a private zoo, and there's like a bunch of giraffe out in basically the Ukrainian steppe, stuck, hanging out all winter. He must have had some sort of heated room for them or something. Like elephants are big, but they don't really have much fur. They, they have a lot of skin contact. They have a lot of surface area. It's how do they do that? I bet they just have warm rooms. They have warm rooms to hang out in. That'd be my guess. Sam Singh, when do you think the castle will start to crumble and moas? Are we close? Is it still going to take another year? No, I don't think it'd take another year. I think everything's crumbling right now. I think we are in the beginning of a crumble. What we have to hope is that they aren't able, while it's crumbling, to keep hammering our stocks down so that the margin and the assets under management go down with it, which is what I think they're going to try and do. They're going to do weird stuff, weird calls, put plays, generate some cash, and they're going to try to keep hammering the price of our stocks down along with the blue chips. But if they mess up somewhere along the way and it's going and all of a sudden the assets under management keep going on ours rocket, then we get this huge difference in value. Their margin jumps above the 30-to-1 limit, and we're golden. That's what we are. That's what we were waiting for. Chakuseki, hope your mom is doing well with surgery. Thank you. Any thoughts on OPEC's failure and how there may be a margin call behind the scenes? Did RC's Bed Bath & Beyond purchase drive the last nail in the coffin for hedge funds? I think it's a nail driven into that coffin. I don't know if it's the last nail. Did you guys see the weird VWAP thing that happened with a lot of the meme stocks today? Where like AMC all of a sudden dropped to like $7 and then spiked back up again, but it happened across a host of these meme stocks that talked about in the Reddit groups on Twitter and everything else. It seemed to me like some sort of shenanigans are probably attached to the ETFs if they're going to happen to all those things all at once, not just some glitch that, because it didn't happen with blue chips. The blue chips didn't see that glitch. Only the heavily shorted stocks saw that glitch. And at no point in the market's history have so many stocks been at 100% utilization. Never. When a stock got to 100% utilization in the past, things went weird and went sideways in a hurry. We've got GME, AMC, BBBY, Metamaterials, probably Bed Bath & Beyond. At least those ones all 100% utilization. You guys may be able to throw more at me that you find along the way. But so many of them are at such high utilization. How on earth can they generate more shares to borrow? It's because they're making them out of thin air, man. That's what they're doing. Cam, thanks for your kind message on that blog post I sent you today, Houston. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Oh, most welcome, Cam. Did I retweet your post? Shit. I'm going to go back. I'm going to retweet it when I have a chance. I'm sorry about that. I think I liked it, but I didn't retweet it. But you wrote a beautiful post about like looking out for the future and things we could do in the future to make the world a better place. But yes, if I didn't retweet it, I'm going to go back and do that right now, or when I get done with the show here. Okay, that was the crumbling one. That was the one I asked about Bed Bath & Beyond. Roller Pigeon did a video on this today on MMTLP. Okay, I'll have to check out Roller Pigeon on that one. Legacy 10, like I said, also chimed in. Bird Lady did her magic math and computed dividend could go to $60. What? That would be incredible. I mean, like, I would love to get like a year's wages out of my $800 investment on Metamaterials. That'd be fantastic. $60 seems like just, I mean, I know oil prices are absolutely bonkers right now, but if the price can go up $50 and make it worth $20 a share, and it goes another $50 and worth $4 a share, and if it goes to $200 total for oil prices, yeah, that's $60 a share. It makes sense. That's crazy. That is crazy to think about. Absolutely crazy. And then, if they sell it towards that peak, and then we make friends with Venezuela, we high-five Iran and go, you know what, guys, we'll go back to that 2015 nuclear deal. We'll let you back in the SWIFT system because Russia can't do shit to help you right now. And oil production increases incredibly, and then the value of that thing goes, that's not our problem anymore, right? Which, you guys remember, I've been saying, making friends with Venezuela is very likely to happen. We sent our highest level of delegation of diplomats ever since Maduro's been in office to go have talks with Maduro this week. We are making friends with Venezuela. Russia had been marginally helping them do what they can to develop and maintain their oil fields, but Russia relies upon U.S. contractors to maintain their oil fields and to do their fracking technology. So without the ability of having access to those contractors, Russia's oil fields are going to collapse. They're just not going to make. They're going to be able to exploit new fields. They're not going to be able to maintain old fields, and they're not going. They're definitely not going to be able to help Venezuela in any way. So a lot of that work, and it's going to be. There's going to be concessions. Some of the concessions are going to be allowing Maduro to stay in office. They're not going to be like, get the hell out, Maduro. They're gonna allow him to stay in office, even though it's totally shady, and he is a shady character. It probably won't involve U.S. ownership of oil fields ever again in Venezuela, because we used to have, all sorts of American companies owning oil fields in there. And then when Chavez went in, he seized them all. And he's like, no, this is ours. Get the fuck out of here. That's when, the oil companies were. Blah, 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 blah. But what I do see is contracts to produce oil going through U.S. contractors. That, yes, Venezuelans, you will own the oil fields. We just need to get your oil out of this friggin' ground and onto ships and sent to Europe. That's probably what's going to happen, is my guess, is that just because we need the production to increase, and Venezuela has the largest proven reserves in the entire world, and it's not being utilized and exploited in any meaningful way, we are probably going to see U.S. contractors going in and helping them move that oil. That's my prediction. Another one for the magic. We should do a prediction thing in the show, and I'll have a fancy crystal ball that I'll look into and make my predictions. But whatever wrong happened in Venezuela is nothing compared to what's happening in Russia. Whatever wrong happens from Iran is nothing compared to what's happening in Russia. So we are going to go to these two, and we are going to make nice, and we are going to sign agreements with them that will result in, moderate concessions from them, but more concessions from us. I think seeing another Iranian nuclear deal signed between the Biden administration, the world, and Iran is very likely to happen. Iran is basically cut off because they are so dependent upon Russian scientists and Russian engineering to do a lot of their work anyway, and they just Russia's not going to be able to do shit right now. And no one wants to take Iranian currency and exchange it for Russian currency. Who wants to do that? And they have a total opportunity to finally dump oil onto the market legitimately and make hard dollar currencies, which is what they couldn't do before. They can get euros and dollars for this oil, and that would mean a lot for the regime there. And they're just going to have to make mild concessions to do that. So Israel's going to be pissed off about it. But right now, Israel has such a giant influx of Ukrainian immigrants, they got to deal with that right now. Because remember, Ukraine is the 5th most populous Jewish country in the world. And the largest Jewish building in the world is the Chabad building. It's gigantic. In Kharkiv, I believe is where it is. Or was it Lviv? Monkey, can you help me with that one? I can't remember which city it's in. But anyway, so we're going to see some weird alliances start to form that would not normally have formed before. Might be, a little trepidatious at first, a little, they might be a little shy to hold hands, but in the end, everyone wants their money. So, there's going to be some geopolitical just upheaval that's coming along. Okay. So that's 2 predictions in the show, right? What was my other prediction? Oh, that China's going to become a wheat exporter. China's going to become a wheat exporter by this fall. That's my other prediction. So we're going to make nice with at least Venezuela, if not also Iran, and then China's going to become a wheat exporter by this fall. Those are the two so far Houston predictions in this episode. We'll see where they go. Of course, the Make Friends one, I predicted that months ago. But this is just put it into a snowball form. Okay. Any thoughts on oil for tomorrow? Up. I don't know if it's going to start climbing as fast or faster. That'd be... I mean, over the weekend, we went from 100 to 130 plus. What did we finish at today? What's happening right now? Oil prices. Crudeoilprice.com. Brent crude 125. Okay, so we dropped a little bit. Okay. So last night is when it went over 130. Louisiana lights at 118. Okay. So Brent crude is kind of the gold standard there. I don't see Texas sweet listed on here. Whatever. But 125 Brent crude. That's still pricey. Up almost 2% today. Yeah, stable above 130 for sure, if not climbing higher over the coming weeks. I'm curious to see what deliveries will be like because, you know, not only do people buy oil and oil futures, they'll buy specific futures from specific sellers. So if they're buying futures from the Russian oil market, like, oh, I have, 800,000 barrels at $95 a barrel, it should be delivered, and it can't get delivered, what happens then? Right? I have no idea what type of insurances are in place on those things. If there's failure to delivers happen, what happens to capacity at refineries? They're expecting that oil. I don't know. When we get the oil people in here, if any of the oil guys are in here, jump in and tell us what happens with that, because there's a couple of you who seem to be really on their oil. I am not. I'm a mineral guy, not a hydrocarbon guy. Okay, and then Jorge also asked, think the price will go higher because of Russia? Yeah, it's going to go a lot higher. Okay. Oh yeah, Cosmic Lightning War and I were going to try to do a thing today, and then both of us totally blanked. So, oh yeah, that was supposed to happen today. I was so, just hanging around all day, waiting to hear from the doctor and my mom eventually that my brain was not at all in, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do a show. I'm getting the feeling like Cosmic Lightning Warrior and I are like that weird thing that Jimmy Kimmel and Matt Damon had for years, where he would invite Matt Damon on the show and then just never bring him out. Sorry, enough time for Matt Damon today. Have a great show. That's where we are at the moment. Okay. Nine up 168% today. What? That's from Liz Clayman. 9. Damn, son. After hours. Just screaming. So it went from 355 to it peaked out at 722, and now it is at 630. What the what? 9 energy. I think we might see a lot of energy stocks do weird things right now. The reporting wasn't that great. They lost 52 cents a share, but $100 million in revenue. So those are reporting today. So it must have been, future looks bright with energy stocks in general. That's probably why CEI is climbing again, which is putting that Pomerantz law firm in a tough bind. Screw those guys, though. Pomerantz, those guys can just F off to hell. Okay. Vindicator, they're going to throw out the CEO Hedge plant. Is that what's happening at Bed Bath & Beyond? Is that they've got one of the CEO Hedge plants? That happens. That's what they do. Okay. Nope says, anyone see the other document storage warehouse fires? Is there another one? That'd be sketchy if there's another one. I've not heard about that, but I'm going to have to look that up. Lemon Monkey, Houston, apparently Gulfstream is slowing down. Are we doomed? Oh, boy. You guys want to talk about the Gulfstream? How effed we are if the Gulfstream shuts down? We did this last summer, so we might as well jump in there and give ourselves a nice refresher. Okay. So let's talk about how the Gulfstream works, because it is one of the most important thermal actions in thermal regulators in the entire planet. So we have the Atlantic Ocean. Ta-da! We've got Europe. Let's get the sucker true north here. There we go. Got North America. And what we have is the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico is fairly south. Subtropical. Louisiana area becomes tropical by the time we get to Mexico. And in the summertime especially, this thing just bakes in the sunshine for all year. Just cooks and cooks and cooks and cooks. That water is warm. It expands. It wants to go somewhere. And what ends up happening is it forces its way out between the channel, between Cuba and Florida, and works its way up the Florida coast. And you can tell just by the scouring of this canyon, this offshore canyon here, just how fast this water moves. And it rushes in from the south. So there's colder water that comes from the Atlantic, works its way in through the Caribbean, and works its way up underneath the surface of the warmer water in the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico, hot water gets forced out up this current, and the Gulf Stream works its way up the coast of the eastern seaboard. So you can get, for the most part, unseasonably warm waters off of the coast. So on the Pacific coast, where we have cold water coming from Alaska down the Pacific coast, in the summertime, the water's 50 degrees. In the wintertime, the water's 48 degrees. There's not much difference until you get further south to the border of Mexico, where the water temperature finally is like almost bearable some parts of the year. But here, along the Atlantic coast, for most of the year, the water can be downright balmy. We're talking like 90-degree ocean water off South Carolina in the summertime. 80-degree water up in the summertime off of Cape Cod. And this hot water works its way up all the way up till it starts to cool, and then it will start to sink under the Arctic Ocean, and then spool around, and the cold water will come down underneath down the Atlantic coast of Europe. Now, what this Gulf Stream allows things to do is have much warmer climates in Iceland, and Scandinavia, and England, and northern France as a result of this hot water basically being forced up through the Gulf Stream currents. And what they're finding is that so much fresh water is melting off of Greenland that fresh water is more buoyant than the warm salt water, so it floats on top. And it starts to cool off the Gulf Stream current, which is forcing it to cool off faster before it gets to the northern climes up by the Arctic Ocean. And if that happens, if this area gets cut off from the Gulf Stream, it's going to get a lot colder in a hurry. And you can see, how much higher London is latitudinally than much of North America. And, it's in that Canada range, right? Zurich is about the same level as Seattle as far as latitude goes. You have to get to Central Europe before you have a climb that's similar to one of the most northern major cities in the United States. And if the Gulf Stream shuts off and these warm storm systems don't come through here anymore, this place goes into a deep freeze. And so global warming can cause the rest of the world to warm up while cooling off Europe as a result of shutting off the Gulf Stream. And if that happens, man, you guys are screwed. Any of you Europeans that are still awake at this point, you're boned. You're effed in the A. So that's where we are if the Gulf Stream starts to shut down on that. Okay. Where was that one? That Gulf Stream question. There it is. Lemon Monkey. Nomura got slammed. Uh-oh. So I wonder if Nomura's... Did they announce this Vindicator? Did they announce that they're going to have to do a bunch of margin calls on folks? I bet they might have more related with Russia, perhaps. Yeah, bullish on second intro. You should have bought puts today, baby. No second intro for you. Okay. How about we always do an outro for you guys. So you guys will get an outro for sure. Stonkonator, what do you think will happen to all the DRS shares when MOAS starts? Will they be able to sell fast enough, or will they be left holding the bags while everyone else gets rich? I'm more inclined to the latter. That I think some of them who may get permission ahead of time to list very high margin or very high limit orders. Put myself back in big here. List very high limit orders. They may. Oh, that's the dog. That's the little dog. They may get through because I think they can list up to $1 million now on there. But if the price goes above $1 million, and if the infinity pool does not remain more than 70 million shares, or 50 million shares, whatever the float is, those folks may get left behind because remember you can delete synthetics from existence by buying the synthetics. So if I've got nothing but synthetics in my account and I sell those one at a time for piles of money, they take those synthetics and they just put them in a shredder, just delete them from existence. And that's one way they can delete all the synthetics from existence. So they can close out all the synthetics, they can buy all of them from everyone they can. Then they're down to the 20-30% reported short interest, which is the legit borrowing. And then, that's where those DRS folks may start to shine. But I just don't see it. I don't. It's such a pain in the ass to sell that stuff on DRS at those prices that I think a lot of them may be panicking if when the bonus actually comes, trying to get customer service to help them and whatnot. That's my gut feeling on that. Jorge Hernandez, if Russian oil gets banned, do you think oil barrel price will rise even more? Oh, heck yeah. They'll rise even more. And I think it will get a ban because oil prices are going to rise regardless. I think the U.S. is trying to stall until they can get something out of, like Venezuela at least. But I think a Russian oil ban is probably going to happen. There's no you can't have like a war going on, complaining about a guy having a war, and then just funding that war. Like, it doesn't work that way. You can't go, no, Saddam Hussein, you bad man, you. But thanks for the oil. We're just going to bomb your cities. But thank you for the oil. We'll just keep buying your oil. We're just going to bomb your cities, and then we're going to take your oil. That's just not how it works. So, yeah. Julianne Houston, do you think the EU could be an up-and-coming superpower? I think it already is. France and England got nukes. They have as many nukes as China does. They've got a hard currency. They've got a gigantic consumer market. Their one issue is hydrocarbons. The two largest producers of hydrocarbons in Europe are Norway and Great Britain, and they're not members of the EU. So that's probably their biggest hindrance at the moment. Although Shell Oil said they aren't going to stop any of their Russian oil projects, which may, the Dutch may have to make a rule barring them from doing that, or the EU. But if we'll go back to the map here. Let's go back to the map. Okay. All right. So hopefully you guys are starting to learn where Ukraine is. Ukraine is this big fellow right here. Russia is all that. Now, there were significant discoveries of shale oil and gas and oil reserves in two very important places. One, Crimea, which was part of, or is part of, Ukraine, and Donbass out here in the east. In 2014, Russia took both of them. This is now part of Russia, and this is now the independent breakaway region that Putin claims his invasion of Ukraine is protecting. We're talking like hundreds of billions of barrels of oil and gas between these two places. like a lot of energy reserves. Now, Russia's biggest customer is Europe. And the Nord Stream and Nord Stream 2 pipelines basically run from Russian fields across Ukraine and into Germany, or terminate somewhere in Germany. Now, if Ukraine had the ability to produce enough oil and gas for Western Europe's needs, then they would cut off the Russian supply and just supply their own and become a very valuable oil nation as a result. Just like Norway, just like, Saudi Arabia or UAE or Iraq or any of the places that happen to be able to produce a ton of hydrocarbons. And so Russia would lose its largest customer base. Western Europe would be like, fine, I don't deal with Putin anymore. Screw that guy. And so that's why that's the biggest reason why Russia fomented the ethnic divide in these areas. And they invaded Crimea. They held a false vote claiming that Crimea voted 97% for independence or to join Russia, to be annexed by Russia. And one of the goofiest things is because of the incompetence of... let's see if we can find that article. Yeah. There it is. Let's see if I can bring this sucker up. Turn you off. Turn you on. Go. There we go. So I'll put this sucker. I'll put a link to this. I tweeted it out a couple of times in a few things this weekend, but you may as well. So Putin's Human Rights Council, who were the ones running the election in Crimea for annexation by Russia, they claimed that 97% of the vote said, yeah, we won't be part of Russia. But the actual vote tally after it was counted was 15% were for actually joining Russia. And they accidentally leaked that on their website. Oops. Yeah, so President... Let's see if it's still up there. Nope, they finally took it down. All right. They finally took it down after years. But, yeah, the Human Rights Council in Russia had basically showing that voter turnout was small and eventually only got 15% of the vote. So, oops. Oh, no. So Russia's claims about these folks wanting independence is just wrong in general. What they're finding is, the Russian soldiers move into places like Kharkiv. Kharkiv is a Russian-speaking region of Ukraine. Like, this area speaks Ukrainian and some other languages, but this side of Ukraine speaks Russian. And the Russian soldiers went to Kharkiv, and they're like, we're here to liberate you. And all the Russian-speaking citizens were like, get the fuck out of here. You're not liberating us from shit. And they're like, what? Thinking that just because they speak Russian, they're going to want to be part of Russia. But they don't. They want to be part of Ukraine. They don't want to be part of Putin. None of these guys want to be part of Putin. So, yeah, it'd be like saying, I don't know, I think sometime in the future, some dictator 100 years from now of United Kingdom invades the United States to liberate us to become part of the United Kingdom. We're like, why would we become part of the United Kingdom? And they're like, well, because you speak English. You'd be like, suck a dick. You understand that? That's exactly what basically is happening. Just because they speak Russian does not mean they identify as like Russian citizens or wanting to be Russian citizens. So these pipelines that move through here would have been supplied by Ukrainian built fields in eastern Ukraine and in Crimea, but Russia annexed Crimea, and they built this gigantic bridge. Where's the bridge? There's one of these in here somewhere. They can connect to the rest of Russia. Putin's giant palace is down here somewhere. Sometimes I find it right away. Other times it takes me a while to find his giant monster palace. Is that it? This might be it. Yeah, I think it's the one with the dock. I think this is it. Yeah, this is all Putin's palace and stuff here, I believe. But he's got $1 billion palace that's off of the coast here between Crimea and Sochi, and that's one of his. He's got his other lair up in the Ural Mountains. Where was I going with this? Talking about Russian oil. Oh yeah, the main reason why Russia invaded was because they didn't want the competition. They didn't want Ukraine to cut off their gravy train of supplying gas and oil to Europe, which is what would have happened. Because everyone in Europe would rather deal with Ukraine than they would with Putin. That's for sure. Okay. Kyle Banta, how goes it? Thoughts on GME planning early earnings release? Any news on NFT or other catalysts you're aware of? No. Are they doing it tomorrow? Didn't they move it up to tomorrow? GME earnings call. Nope, not 2021. I want. Oh, they don't even have it listed yet. Okay. Okay. Oh, maybe here. No, 22nd is what I see listed. So that's, when is the 22nd? That is a Tuesday in 2 weeks. Okay, but did they move it up? And the Nasdaq's just listing it wrong? All right. Oh, we'll check it out. If I have a chance on the 22nd, maybe I'll try to do a live show during that. The last time I did a live show during the earnings call, the hold music resulted in someone trying to make a copyright strike against me for music that was recorded from a dead guy 100 years ago. Pain in the butt, I'll tell you that much. Okay. I'm getting... Oh. 3/17, St. Patrick's Day. They moved it up. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you, John. My buddy John just said move the earnings call to the 17th, St. Patrick's Day. So they had to move it up by 5 days. So, all right. Way to go. Vindicator, 5,500 Nigerian special forces on way to fight for Ukraine. I don't know how special they are. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Did not hear that. Okay. BBBY, would it be conflict of interest if Ryan Cohen bought 10% of AMC? I don't think it'd be conflict of interest. I think, I don't know. 10% AMC is a lot of money, though. Let's see here. It's 500 million shares. It'd be 50 million shares, trading at more or less $20. Oops, wait. So 50 million. So it'd be $1 billion, right? Yeah, $1 billion. That's a lot. I mean, 20% of Bed Bath & Beyond was a lot cheaper than that. Because that was at 186 million shares. So you got 18 million shares at $20. So he spent about a third that much to get that much. Yeah. Stonkonator, what do you think will happen to all the DRS fans? Oh, there's someone asked already. Okay. Yeah. I answered that one. Okay. Oh, and the chat reset. So we got to scroll on back up here. And I missed. Okay, if you message between like 8 o'clock and 8:45. So now I'm only 40 minutes behind the chat, as always. Excuse me. Okay. Project Sun, Houston, any thoughts on people sending money to Ukraine via Airbnb? Seems like an odd push via socials to me because they're already doing well. Seems to be sus push via news, wealthier people in Ukraine. I'm okay with it. It's a creative way of getting money to folks, and it's not very much. Like, the first lady I read about doing it was she made sure that it was individual and not like someone who had multiple Airbnbs all over the place. So she found, somebody who rented a room for $14 a night in their house, And she's like, yeah, I'm going to book 2 weeks worth of stays. Then she discovered the place was in eastern Ukraine, and then that this woman was housing refugees in her house who were on their way to try and make it out of Poland, make it to Poland. So that's a cool, heartwarming story. I'm sure there's lots of like large scale landlords that will take advantage of this. So if you're gonna do it, just contact the owner of the house and see if they are legit or if they are a giant company. And you're just gonna be sending money to a company that doesn't give a rat's ass. Anonymous should hack you since this intro can't be turned off. somebody did post on somewhere on YouTube like my intro for an hour. It's just on a loop. I wonder how many views they have now. I've checked it in a long time. Okay. B-Ball 3710, there are mainly 3 bed baskets in the world as far as food production: U.S., Midwest, South America, and Ukraine. For the most part, yeah, if you want grains, that's what we're going to look at. Bread, people like bread. They love their bread. Monkey likes bread. I like bread. Right? Hey, little dog? Oh, yeah, you're just a sleepy dog. Just a little sleepy dog. So, yeah. Okay. BBBY brand, China had no harvest. The wheat they're getting is from Russia. Yep. And that's why my prediction is China's going to buy up all of Russia's production, every last bit of it, and they're going to become a wheat exporter by this fall as a result. They will ship that wheat, that illicit Russian wheat, elsewhere in the world. Broke Ape, did Charles Schwab and others really take the buy button away from wheat? Yep, you can only close on those wheat positions right now. Did you just rip one, dude? That was a long one. What the heck? Did you guys get that on the microphone? It was a hurgly-gurgly one. Oh, she's had a little sleep farting over there. All cuddled up in her bed, just tooting away. Ted Tremendous reminds me of Peter Gregory talking about wheat futures from Silicon Valley. Oh, you guys haven't watched Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley was brilliant. Absolutely hilarious show. Okay. Let's claim and talk about Apple's new thing. Another $1,200 iPhone. People can't afford food and gas. Yeah, there you go. Sixth Son, Houston, what can you tell us about the Azov Battalion being part of the Ukraine army? Well, they're not part of the Ukraine army. They're a militia that's sort of associated with the National Guard. They're Nazis. They're pieces of shit. They're nationalists. And they're fighting in the east, basically in the places that were independent breakaway republics. And that's where they're doing their battles. They're racist. They're awful. If Ukraine gets its independence at the cost of the Azov Battalion, I'm okay for that. The thing is, and we'll go back. Let's go back to the map. Okay. We got this eastern Ukraine area. Now, what Putin did, and this is kind of partially to his detriment, and he's trying to use it to his advantage, is Putin for years is funding far-right militant organizations all over the world. They funded Marine Le Pen's election in France. They fund far-right groups here in the U.S. They funded the Brexit people in the U.K., and they dumped a bunch of money, and they used FSB spies, and they fomented nationalism that was kind of disorganized, especially after World War II. And over the last decade or so, they fomented a whole bunch of nationalism inside of Ukraine. And their goal was to get people of Russian ethnicity to hate their Ukrainian neighbors and to want to break away and join Russia. That was their goal. What ended up happening was it also fomented a whole bunch of Ukrainian nationalists who are racist pieces of shit, to want to like hold fast to Ukraine, ethnically cleansed Ukraine of Russians. That boom creates a giant fight right there. So in these areas in eastern Ukraine, Donetsk and Luhansk and stuff in here, these towns, the governments that were set up pretty much as Russian proxies are run by neo-Nazis. So basically we've got neo-Nazi on neo-Nazi violence happening. The folks who run these cities are Russian neo-Nazis funded by the Kremlin. The folks fighting them are Ukrainian neo-Nazis. So we've got neo-Nazis fighting neo-Nazis here, and it's stupid. The biggest violence since World War II happened in Odessa in 2014, May 2nd, 2014. You'll read all sorts of weird conflicting reports, and lots of like Russian bots on Twitter will try to like, 45 people were burned alive by Nazis in this building in Odessa. Well, what happened is that you had a march of soccer fans. There were, right-wing elements in it that were essentially marching, trying to like do this like unify Ukraine, get rid of say it right, Yanukovych. And then there was a group of pro-Russian neo-Nazis who happened to have Kalashnikovs. And they fired into the crowd and killed some people. And then the crowd chased them into a building and then burned the building, and they all died inside. So you basically had a bunch of Nazis shooting at a bunch of other Nazis, and then the Nazis outnumbered them, killed them. Okay. Like, anytime a Nazi dies, I'm like, okay with it. And if Nazis want to kill each other, then they can go kill each other. But the nationalism on both sides is heavily represented by these far-right militias. And, just look at the United States, right? Pretty much every militia in the United States is tied to white supremacists. Militias that's what militias do, man. So you want to talk about the Michigan militia or the Oath Keepers or the Three Percenters or anyone, like, they all have Nazis and are run by Nazis and white supremacists. That's what they do. If they weren't Nazis and white supremacists, they'd be a legitimate organization and not a bunch of weird guys that go run around the woods and pretend like they're, going to ethnically cleanse or be the world's heroes or whatever. Sorry. My roommate downstairs and a loud phone call. Just going to shut him out there. And that's just the nature of it. I mean, the only not neo-Nazi militia I can think of is the black militia down in Georgia. And they just show up to piss off the neo-Nazis whenever they can, just scare the hell out of them. And, that's more power to them. Wheat. Talking about wheat. Okay, talking about wheat. Talking about phones. Talking about wheat and phones. All right. Wheat and phones. Scrolling. Greg Mathis, Houston, do you think it would be a good idea to invest in a new cell phone now if China invades Taiwan? No doubt there'll be sanctions, meaning no chips. Ooh, okay. Let's talk about that. We gotta go back to the map again, because maps are important. They help us put things in context. Okay, so we got China. 3.5 million square miles of big old China. And then we got little old Taiwan right here. What, 30 million people? 20 million people in Taiwan? Foxconn is a Taiwanese company. They're the ones that make all the chips and the cell phones and the iPads and lots of computer motherboards and let's see if we can find a list of Foxconn things. Products made by Foxconn. All right. Can we do get rid of the Google Earth? Have that up there. So, no products manufactured by Foxconn, BlackBerry, iPad, iPhone, Nokia devices, PlayStations, Wii U's, Xbox. So this is 2012. They make everything. And their factories are gigantic. They're owned by the Taiwanese, but their factories are mostly in China. And the super factories are unprecedented. We're talking, let's bring up the, back to Google Earth again. 600,000 people work in one of their factories. Maybe I can bring up Foxconn factory. Will allow me to get there. Here we go. Okay. Science Technology Park. Is that Foxconn Technology Group factory? Here we go. Here's one of them. Okay. So these are dormitories for Foxconn. All these tightly bound together slave quarters, essentially. No light gets through. These are dormitories that are just stacks of beds, hundreds of thousands of them, and more down here. Whoops. These are all also Foxconn dormitories. And in this group of buildings here is 600,000 workers in just basically like 3 city blocks, packed in here, bed on top of bed on top of bed on top of bed. And they work in the Foxconn factories, which are all these buildings. So Foxconn technology, it's all in here. 600,000 people working 24 hours a day in shifts, basically produce almost every electronic device you can possibly imagine. So, what happens? China invades Taiwan, right? China invades little old Taiwan up here. We're going to take you over. Foxconn, which owns these factories, basically destroy the factories. All the tooling gone, destroyed, done, that's it. So now the entire world no longer has the ability to produce any of these microchips, any of these motherboards, any of these video game systems, all LCD TV processors, you name it, gone from the earth, cannot be produced. The owners of Foxconn, who have the designs and all the tooling, they set up shop somewhere else. They go, all right, Taiwan's going to take over. We're out of here. We know how to make all this stuff. I don't know, I'll pull out of my butt. We go to Kenya. They go to Kenya, and they set up a giant super factory where they pack 600,000 people in a bunch of dormitories, and all of a sudden electronics start coming out of Kenya. Which, might be easier in the long run because all the coltan and tin comes from here, and you just have to ship it to there and process it there, and you can all of a sudden make all sorts of stuff out of raw materials. I don't know, I'm pulling that out of my butt. I'm just making it as an example. But China invades Taiwan. The entire globe stops buying Chinese products. They no longer have cash coming in, and their only person they can deal with is Russia. It could be economic ruin. We are their customer base. And if they lose their customer base, we just go without for a couple of years until we figure out how to make tooling in another country. And, the sanctions would mean really strange things. Because, talked about this in the past, investment from foreign interests, from banks and firms and U.S. dollars and whatnot, that money went into Chinese bonds. Those Chinese bonds constructed all the amazing infrastructure China has seen over the last 20 years. Not only has it built all that amazing infrastructure China has seen over the last 20 years, but it's paid for infrastructure in their Belt and Road project, where, they're diverting rivers in Thailand. They're building highways across the Congo. They're doing ports in Djibouti. They're building all of this infrastructure using our dollars in these places. And what they're doing is they build this infrastructure, then they, with a loan that they give to whatever country they're building the infrastructure in, and if the country defaults on the loan, then China owns it, right? But if China invades Taiwan, right, and we do similar sanctions that we've done to Russia as we do to China, all of a sudden it will give the impetus for all of these little teeny tiny nations around the world who are part of this Belt and Road project to seize the infrastructure built by the Chinese and take it from them and never owe a dime back. So China may lose out on over $1 trillion in infrastructure they spent building in order to get raw materials back to their country, where they can have a Taiwanese company make a whole bunch of electronics for everybody and send it elsewhere. So China invading Taiwan will mean the end of Foxconn, which will mean the end of China's ability to make these products, because they do not know how that tooling is built. That tooling is built by a bunch of Taiwanese people, and they will not be able to ramp up production and they won't have customers to sell to. So right now, I think China's looking at the response from the invasion of Ukraine and seeing how quickly the global system was able to just crush the Russian economy, which is a fraction of the size of China. Make no mistake. Russia's economy is smaller than Texas, and now is smaller probably than like Connecticut at this point. But that I think China was hoping that Russia would invade Ukraine, and the world would go, oh, that sucks, like they did with Chechnya or Georgia or whatever. And then China go, all right, here's our chance, boys. They don't give a shit about anyone invading Ukraine, so we're going to take Taiwan. Woohoo! And they're going to be done. And they saw us all go, you're not taking Ukraine. And China went, ooh, Russia, you might be on your own. It might be a terrible idea to invade this place, and we're just not going to do it. So, yeah. Yeah, invading Taiwan would be an absolute brutal assault. The Navy would have to surround Taiwan. Taiwan has got all sorts of crazy military systems. The United States government has protection agreements with Taiwan. So as much as like we refuse to recognize Taiwan as an independent country, we essentially treat them as one, and we've got defense agreements. So if Taiwan gets attacked, we're required by treaty to do something about it. And I think China was hoping Russia would test the waters, test the resolve of Americans in that regard, and they found that there's a lot of resolve when it comes to this stuff, so they sort of gave it up, as it were. Okay, back to Big Houston here. Getting good use of the maps today. I'm loving it. I love when we can use the maps here. So yeah, maybe stocking up on some phones, on some cheap Chinese phones now might be the way to do it. Queens get the moolah. What's your Twitter feed, Wade? The Wooston. That's my Twitter feed. Oh yeah, B2B brand popped it in there. The Wooston is it. Ted Tremendous seems pretty smart of Intel to make a factory in Ohio for $20 billion in an AMD fan, but they build in Taiwan, which is dangerous. That's true. A lot of those chips come from Taiwan. I think 50% of the semiconductor chips come from Taiwan itself, and most of the rest come out of China. Yeah, Foxconn headquarters is there, but the impetus, the drive to be able to build a mega factory in China is the Chinese government doesn't give a shit about their people. So you can basically put 600,000 slaves into 3 city blocks and force them to work 16 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. And the Chinese government is like, whatever, dude, we don't care. So that's why all that manufacturing is going on there. It's not lifting those people out of poverty. Those people will die with gnarled fingers working in these factory lines, and no one will ever remember their name. There's probably some morgue built in there, just like takes burnt out 25-year-olds that came from the country to work in these factories and just cremates them to nothing. And then, if they're lucky, a letter might get sent to their parents about, oh yeah, this dude died, we cremated him, whatever. But it's the people who work these factories come from rural parts of China, and they go to the city for work, and then they just work to death in these factories. They're brutal. Okay. Steve Petchke, first time question. If all meme stocks crack off, what is the guarantee that we will actually get paid? Why wouldn't hedge funds just take their money and close up shop? See ya. Well, if a hedge fund closes up shop without closing their margin, then the folks who gave them the margin, the bank or prime broker, is now responsible for it. That's why. So a hedge fund can't just go, all right, we're out of here, see ya, without it affecting the bank or prime broker, who would be required by law to close out those positions. And that's why we would get some money out of it. And it would probably result in also the Department of Justice or SEC seizing any associated accounts with that closing up shop and saying see you later if they don't close, which would probably mean criminal time for them. So they're trying to avoid, like, they're trying to break the law, but do it in such a way that it won't end up with them in prison. Okay. BTW Brand, Houston, did you hear Russia is paying foreign fighters to fight for them in Syria? That makes sense. I mean, the Wagner Group isn't all Russian Nazis. They probably have folks that they hire, just like Blackwater will hire mercenaries from all over to do jobs. These private military groups, I think, are some of the strangest and worst things we could have. They are pretty awful, and they attract mostly awful people. I mean, the Wagner Group, which is been doing lots of these proxy fightings, and they will guard slave pits in Africa or be used to overthrow various warlords or dictators in little bush republics, and they're being pulled out of Africa and sent to Ukraine right now. And I think that a lot of these dudes don't really know what they're in for. They're used to fighting unorganized, pitchfork-holding peasants. They're not used to facing, 20,000 stingers, javelins, and NLAWs. I think a lot of them are going to get to Ukraine, see what's going on, and they're like, yeah, I quit. I don't care about the paycheck. I'm out. I'm going to go get a job with Blackwater or somebody else who's not here. And they'll move on. I don't think you can pay folks enough money to go in there and get their asses kicked like that. I mean, if the conscripts are making $12.90 a day, the Kremlin is not going to be willing to pay the mercenaries enough to go, yeah, I'm not hanging out here. I just don't see it happening. Because you can't afford to have mercenaries as cannon fodder. You're going to have them directed to do specific things, and without air support and without proper technology, they don't even have radios that can jump bands, and so jamming frequencies. The Ukrainians can jam frequencies really easily and cut off entire battalions and units, and the Russians never adopted the more modern frequency jumping radios and GPS systems or navigation systems. And so any jamming technology just wipes them out. And I don't know if you guys saw photos of the MiG and SU cockpits that essentially have like off the shelf GPS units from Garmin inside the cockpits of these multi-million-dollar fighter jets. Like the stuff that if you bought a 1967 Cessna for $15,000 on Craigslist, right, and needs a little bit of work, I'll tune up here and there, you would go to the aviation or the marine supply store and buy the Garmin unit for $600 and put that in the dashboard of your Cessna. That's what these modern fighter jets that the Russians are using are flying with. And so, you can use the Anarchist Cookbook and take a garage door opener, swap a crystal out inside of it, and hold that sucker down, and anyone in a quarter mile won't be able to use a cell phone, right? So if there's a modern military jammer that's, say, supplied by, NATO, that's inside of Ukraine, they can jam signals for 30 or 40 miles in every direction, which means anytime a jet passes into that zone, there goes their GPS, there goes their radio. They have no way to communicate with anyone. They're flying blind. And then they get hit with a Stinger missile and go down. It's pretty amazing. Like, Putin did not modernize the military at all. They're like Radio Shack could make this stuff. Okay. Tremendous Houston needs a Xandar. Look up the 80s board game. It's hilarious. Cheap ball tells the future. All right, I guess there's a Xandar. Hey, only one Russian bot so far, Protege? Fantastic. I'm curious to see if Russia does cut off the internet on the 11th, like they said. Monkey Butt says Lviv. Yes, that's where the big building is, right, Monkey? Lviv. She's like on the floor asleep and her eyeball just open. She goes, Okay, same as everything. Queen's got the moolah. Any way we can invest in Neuralink? Yeah, I have no interest in investing in Neuralink. I think Neuralink is going to face so many lawsuits that I don't know if they'll survive. Did you guys read about the shit they were doing to monkeys and how many monkeys' brains they just destroyed? And now they're looking for human subjects without showing that they successfully connected a monkey brain to one of these devices. I think Neuralink is a space age pie in the sky type dream that I think ultimately will end up being a Bluetooth headset you put in your ear. that's the way I think Neuralink is going to go, because if any of their human trials go the way the animal trials did, they're going to make vegetables of all sorts of people who are going to sue Neuralink and their investors so much that insurance companies won't even be able to cover it. No matter what you have them sign, like, oh, you're going to select arbitration, the families are going to take care of it. And I don't see Neuralink happening yet, not without a better understanding of how the human brain works. I always come up with these ideas like, oh, maybe I'll do this thing with a friend. I have a friend who's a PhD neuroscientist, and she would tell you that we don't know enough about how the human brain works to incorporate a Neuralink into the system to make it useful in any way yet. We can do little things. We can do a cochlear implant. We can do some bionic eyes that allow people to see rudimentary things. We do things like that, but the ability to download and relay information that isn't through a normal hole in the head that we're used to, I don't see like the Matrix yet, where you can just put the spike in the back of the head and download how to do kung fu. I think that's a long ways away. Although there was some sort of release that said that Neuralink would allow humans to have an orgasm anytime they choose, which I think is probably the biggest reason people would get it. Like, you know what? I'm checking out. Blah, blah, blah. And they're just going to have their vinegar strokes right there in the middle of their business meeting. Which caused me to joke, like, my brain computer got hacked at a child's birthday party, and now I'm not allowed anywhere near a school. Right? Can you imagine? And you guys have probably seen the YouTube videos, how poorly guarded the computer systems are in modern cars, that anyone with moderate skills in hacking can hack someone's car and take over the drive-by-wire systems and accelerate it and break it and lock the doors and do whatever they want with it. That same quality of electronics would go into fortifying the little computer that's uploading and downloading information to your brain. So somebody has a fancy little pad and they go, okay, I'm going to do all of the NFCs and Bluetooths around there. I've got 14 people with Neuralinks in their head. I'm going to start telling them voices in their head to go murder their neighbor and send, and murder your neighbor, murder your neighbor, murder your neighbor, murder your neighbor. Pretty soon you're going to go murder your neighbor. Like, I don't know. I don't see Neuralink being anything but like doomsday sci-fi tech in the end. I'm not going to get one in my head and tell you how much right now. Sean Paul, Biden crypto announcement this week. Yes. Which is, did you guys see that Coinbase shut down 25,000 accounts that were associated with suspicious Russian activity? I think Coinbase shut that down ahead of a Biden announcement about perhaps, not being allowed to own secret wallets. If you get caught with secret wallets, might be criminal offenses. We'll see what those regulations for crypto are going to be. But yeah, there's a big crypto announcement about regulations of the crypto market coming out. And I think Binance may wish that they had voluntarily shut down a whole bunch of Russian accounts. I'm going to say that right now. Prediction number 3. Binance is going to wish that they had shut down foreign crypto accounts, so Russian associated crypto accounts. We got 3 predictions so far. Okay. Google's doing a stock split, 10 or 20 to 1. Yep, that sounds about right. Okay. Oh man, it's almost 10 o'clock. I'm gonna scroll down. Okay. We're gonna try to get some of the chats here towards the end. Sorry if I missed your chats in the middle. That always happens. You guys can always like post so much more than I can talk about in 2 hours. Let's see here. Did I miss anybody's? I missed a super chat here, didn't I? Email address. Foxconn has been building a massive factory in Wisconsin while trying to milk the state for tax benefits for years. Yeah, they keep promising that they're gonna build this giant plant, and then doesn't quite actually happen there in Wisconsin. They may be forced to put that sucker into overdrive if China starts to flex on Taiwan. Okay, all right. Okay, talking about Foxconn. Talking about how to buy MMTLP shares. I bought mine on Fidelity, but one of the things there said someone wasn't able to do that right now. So, might be that there's none available to buy. People just aren't selling them because they're waiting on that dividend. Dink, Florida. Houston, what do you think about us being in a liquidity crisis? Thoughts on it happening anytime soon, including rate hikes this month? Are us AMC apes and GME players getting paid? In the end, we will be. Right now, no. Yeah, they're going to do a rate hike because they got to do some, they got to do tapering. Interest rates have been too low. We have to slow down liquidity. We do. There's too much cash, and we've got to slow down how much cash there is available, and we got to create a little bit of a credit crisis so that folks can't go out and buy as much as they would, and that will stabilize prices and make inflation stop being 6-7% a month. I bet our inflation numbers for March, when they get reported in April, are going to be just bonkers. And they'll have a good excuse, like, oh, war in Russia. But food staples are going to go way up. Grain prices up, metal prices up, fuel prices up. A lot of the staples of what they use as the indicators for inflation are going to skyrocket this month due to Putin's invasion. So, yeah. Okay. BBBY brand, fastest way to break those plants is sprinkler systems if they have them. Yeah. Clean room environments. Yeah, that's a good idea. If you want to destroy a Foxconn plant, sprinkler systems probably would do that. Houston, have you checked Mullen? What are your thoughts? I've looked into Mullen. It's heavily shorted, but also it's kind of a terrible company that doesn't make anything. Their price has gone up quite a bit. That people have been talking about it a lot as a short squeeze play. But there's a reason why they're like the cheapest electric car company you could buy, because they don't make any cars and they don't seem like they will have the ability to in quite a while. I'm okay with like a good short squeeze that will jump prices. And if you can make money off this, more power to you. But I just don't think that they seem like a company that's legit and will actually produce anything ever. I think that they were pie in the sky. They released a bunch of stock and then they never managed to do anything with it. You can buy the entire company for like $20 million. So why doesn't someone just buy the entire company for $20 million? Okay. Queen's got the moolah. Did you know China owns the land that Rikers Island is on? I did not know that. Interesting. Interesting. Tadas Mikolauskas. Hope I said that right. Houston, happy birthday. How does system of ETFs work? When you buy short ETF, do they not buy additional stock from the market? So why does the price move? I'm not sure the exact mechanism that ties each element of the ETF to the ETF basket, but essentially, because there's fractionalized shares now, is that you can, when you design an ETF, when whoever made minted the ETF, or not say minted, that's a weird way of saying it, but when they design the ETF, they put different weights of different stocks into it. So if you have one that is tied to the, I don't know, the S&P 1000 or something, right? So you have only companies that are S&P 1000 companies, and they're not weighted evenly, which I think if you're going to do it, you might as well weight them evenly. But, there's different stocks that have different amounts of shares out there. And so you might have one stock that has 5 billion shares and one stock that has 10 million or whatever. So you break them up into different pieces to mint all of your NFTs. And you might say, okay, 5% of this ETF is going to be GameStop. So you break each share of GameStop that the ETF purchases into 20. And you put 1/20th into each ETF for all the shares that you have, and then you send those out in the market. So, there might be 1,000 shares in there, but 5% of it is GameStop. And there might be like 1/10,000th might be, I don't know, Centrino or whatever. Centro. 1/500th might be AMC Theaters. 1/100th might be Bed Bath & Beyond. 1/50th might be BlackBerry, and so on. So you have this ETF that's basically a whole bunch of fractionalized shares sprinkled out amongst these things, and you can borrow them. You can borrow 50,000 shares of this ETF from someone, and you can rip out that 1/20th that is GameStop from all of them, right? And get what would that be? 12,000? No, 25,000 shares out of that whole. No, 12. We got 1/20th. 2.5 thousand. Yeah, 2,500 shares. So you borrow 50,000 shares, get 2,500 shares out of it, and then you can short those suckers. It's a real pain in the ass process. And what we can also do is you can mint a synthetic and break them up and stick them in there. So now you can have synthetics making up the whole basket of individual shares of the ETFs. And there can be FTDs, fractional FTDs across the board on them. It is just a pain in the ass. There's a video from a couple of years ago. Where's the guy from? He's from University of North Carolina. Videos. Yeah, I think it was this one. Okay, it's like 40 minutes long. Wharton School, Pennsylvania, and I can't remember where the professor. University of Virginia. Yeah, it's from. So Richard Evans from University of Virginia. I'm gonna put this in the chat here so you guys can copy and paste it for later. But he kind of explains just if you are shorting ETFs to get to another stock, you are desperate. You are in a bad place, and you are doing the most pain in the ass thing to get a modicum of results, and it is like a last ditch effort to survive if you are shorting these things, because they are such a pain in the ass to pull apart, put together, make synthetics, do all these things, because there's so many shares involved that it's brutal. But if you are wanting to short a stock that's short sale restricted, right? Like the price went down too much and you're not allowed to short it anymore, you will have to attack the ETFs to move the price anywhere to continue shorting it down. And so they have to turn to these things to do it, because for some reason there's no rule on shorting ETFs the same way. So yeah, I posted that in there. Turn off the Google Earth. This is the video here. It's really good. It's long, very long. It's a long 41 minutes. I'll tell you that much right now. And I may probably need to give it another watch again so I can try to absorb some of this stuff. But it's a good one. I highly recommend it to kind of see what a pain in the ass shorting ETFs is for everyone involved. Okay. All right. All right. We're past 10 o'clock here. Thanks for wishing my mother well. Our queen's got the moolah. She's in good spirits. They got her in good pain management for getting her whole leg sliced open and femur cut in half and all that stuff. Bum, bum, bum. Monkey Butt's a shill for the milk bun industry. She does love her milk buns. M. Joe, when do you think MM2P dividend given to our accounts? Summer? Maybe? It should swap over to Oilco sometime this month. And then CEO George says that they're going to have a special question hour about that where you can like ask online. And they'll try to answer those best they can coming up. They just couldn't do it during the earnings call. Okay. I don't know if and when I'll be able to do another show because my mom gets home from her surgery tomorrow and I got to spend all week, helping her get around the house and get in and out of bed and getting on the toilet and things like that. So we'll be doing that. Monkey Butt, do you have anything to add, buddy? Do you want to come here? Do you want to come here? Yeah? Come on, Monkey. We're going to say goodbye to everybody. So I don't know when I'll be able to do a show this week. My mom probably napping at points, so I'll have my laptop with me and I'll... come on. Shake it off. Come up and say hi. And so Monkey Butt and I will try to do a show when we can. Right, Monkey? Yeah, that's right, buddy. And so we'll get in there. That's all we got. That's all we got for today. My voice is shredded. I'm sure I'll have plenty of time staring at Twitter to argue with people, so you guys can look forward to that. And peace. See you later.